companies like Facebook, Google, large data companies, just imagine how much server space and technology space they need to be able to process and keep all of that information. Well, they're building more and more and more data centers. Have you ever seen that? They're typically long buildings, maybe 1 to 2 stories, no windows. A lot of air conditioners on top to keep it cool because all that machinery in there is consuming a lot of energy and needs to remain cool. We're going to talk about that today. What are data centers and what risks are there to operating a data center or working within a data center, and what types of exposure to crime is there with a data center? Thanks for watching and listening. The SAFESECURE 360 podcast. There's safety in numbers.
Lieutenant Robert Henry is an honorably retired law enforcement commander from Houston with over 35 years of public service experience. I'm Daniel Ziegler. I've been asking questions all my life, and on this show, I do my best to ask the questions that the public would like to know the answer to. The SAFESECURE 360 podcast is intended to provide you, the listener, with information about current events and ongoing societal challenges to help make your life safer. Thank you for listening. This is the SAFESECURE 360 podcast. There is safety in numbers. Well, Robert, thanks for sitting down and talking with us. Today we're talking about data centers, and we're talking about, like you said in the intro, what can happen to these things. First, some stats. There's over 5,300 data centers in the USA, and in Texas, there's over 300 of them. And the last I could do research on it, there were 10 being built right now as we're talking. So for all these people that are building data centers, AI uses physical space to do what it does, and as it becomes more common, we're going to see more of these data centers pop up. What is going on at data centers? Why would we, as security podcasts, talk about data centers? What was on your mind when we first started talking about this idea of doing one on data centers?
Yeah, I certainly think that the interruption of a functioning data center will interrupt and stop or be skewed in some way if someone intentionally vandalizes or tries to interrupt that process that X or Twitter or Facebook or any of these large corporations use them. If their data is interrupted or their data is corrupted in some way, that certainly is a risk because it's going to impact services they provide or records they keep or data that they use or process and share.
I read that the government data centers from the Department of the Interior, they are staffed by armed guards 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Why? What makes them hire armed security guards for those positions?
Well, they get it. They understand how valuable the transmission ability is of that data. It's technology. They're not guarding people. They're not guarding physical assets as far as people. They're guarding the business, they're guarding the computers, they're guarding all the things that are necessary. Imagine what an airline data center looks like, how complex it is, how much information's there, and what happens if that data is interrupted. It could affect the airline's ability to operate. What about the air traffic control system? They're all data center driven. And I think that placing armed guards at these facilities, they're private security officers. It's a great idea because the risk of an intruder or the risk of someone vandalizing that or stealing the copper during a construction phase of these centers, the risk is very high. So to mitigate that risk, they're using technology and they're using off-duty, they're using security officers typically that are armed to protect those assets.
So in the world of data centers, this is a technological business. Why would security cameras not do that thing, or having a locking mechanical door? Why even have the human element there at all in such a technological type place?
Well, I think you have to balance. We've done a podcast on this already, talking about the balance of technology and human assets. Technology, you can't write a report. Technology, you can't respond to an event. You can certainly call external responders, but that's time problems. You can certainly record an event on a camera or video. However, that's all it is a recording. You lack or miss the opportunity to interrupt the theft or vandalism or the type of corruption or violence that may have attributed to this loss of data or to this interruption. So I think that human assets are always going to be necessary to be able to respond and react to something that happens. Technology helps because if you have 25 cameras and you have one officer, he's watching a computer screen or he's watching something that that will alert him or her to that event is very good because they can then respond in an appropriate way. SAFESECURE 360. We are a security consulting group located in the Woodlands, Texas. We assist our multiple clients by reducing the risk, loss, and reputation impact. We also do full security assessments on their facilities, large churches, large private schools in Texas, and we want to help you. Take a look at our website, safesecure360.com.
We talk about this a lot, but first responders are coming, but it takes time from getting the alert for the first responder to get there. And in the meantime, the staff member usually of the place that we're talking about, they are the first responder that has a chance to influence the situation that's going on around them. What kind of policies and procedures should a data center put in place, and what kind of emergent situations might they think about when they're making those?
Well, first let's identify that the police or security have no idea about high-tech IT operations. I certainly don't. So I think it's important that the IT data center technology people categorize and prioritize what's important. In other words, we never want anyone in building 3, or we never want anyone in server line 12. It's our most valuable and vulnerable place if they introduce malware or if they introduce some type of stolen data or disrupt. If you compromise that set, it's a big problem. So then the post orders written by the security company that you hire to consult with you about guarding that information would prioritize that. Building 3, rounds every 30 minutes. No one goes in there without a red colored badge on, for instance. No vendors go in there without escort from a person at a top leadership position. All those details can be worked out. But the policy of the IT people, which details what's important to them, needs to be transmitted and recorded by the security consulting group as to what's important to you is important to me. And then we would follow those rules and enforce those rules and attempt to make sure that everything is okay.
The people that run data centers may not be security experts, so sometimes they hire out for security assessments. This is a service we provide data centers. Tell us what a security assessment might do and how that influences that policy.
That's right. So you have a location, and there's 2 phases really. There is a construction phase where you are building it, and you have openings, and you have maybe a fenced area, and you have equipment, and you have all these drops of this technology that's going to be coming there. Those are very vulnerable times. So we would go there, and we would take a very detailed approach, working about. We would look for vulnerabilities that may exist from the exterior about entering the property. Is your perimeter fencing correct? Is it the right height? Is your signage correct? Is your speed limit correct? Is your OSHA symbols and prohibited items board correct? What's your weapons policy? We would talk about that. Then we start talking about perimeter access. Who can come in? What types of credentials do they have? What about contractors? And then we would start moving our way in more. What's the lighting like? Do you have external lighting? Do you need more? Then we work our way into the actual physical part of the data center. What are your windows, doors, access, locks, lights, landscaping? All of those things are valuable as well. And we would just analyze all of those aspects and produce a written report, 25 to 50 pages long typically, that talks about that location or multiple locations and what we recommend that you do from a best practice approach, also from security by environmental design approach, because we want to safeguard you, your staff, and your property.
So I hear you saying that best practice for a data center security starts from construction, really, where you start by having someone come assess the property, develop a plan and policy for you, and then even staff that with the appropriate security team you need. That seems like a really great idea. It protects your assets, your employees, like you said, and your reputation too, that should anything surprising happen, well, at least you had this policy in place and you did your best concerted effort to do the right steps. Are there any other ideas that data center management should be thinking about a lot of these are going up in construction, and I believe we're just at the beginning of this data center boom. What else should they be thinking about as time goes on and as more people understand what these are? How does management take their security into their own hands?
Data centers must develop competent, active policy about what do we do if this happens? How do we prevent or prepare for that happening? What do we do if we have an intruder? What do we do if we have a industrial accident? What do we do if we have a power issue? What do we do if we have intruders that may want to cause harm to our employees or damage employees' vehicles that are there? These are all things to think about. And are these intruders very sophisticated and they're going to try to interrupt the data flow? Those are all very, very important things to consider. And then what does the law say about that as far as your right to protect that property or to protect a third person or self-defense? How does that all work? And then after you've analyzed these needs, then your competent security consultant would then give you a strategy to take care of these concerns.
Well, thank you so much for talking this out with us. We hope that this information is helpful to you, interesting if you're just watching, and then if you're part of a data center, reach out to us. We can help you. If you need a security assessment or some policy review or development, we offer all these services as well as uniform security. So just go to our website, SAFESECURE360.com. You can see our other clients, you can see some reviews, and you can ask us questions. Reach out to us. We love to help the people in our surroundings. So thank you so much for watching and listening and tuning in. This is the SAFESECURE 360 podcast. There is safety in numbers. This is the SAFESECURE 360 podcast. The information provided in our podcasts is for general information uses only and is not intended as legal advice. The views and opinions expressed by the guests are their own. Always consult with a qualified professional before making safety and security decisions. For more information about this topic, check out our website at SAFESECURE360.com.